Chapter 21, Heading Off a Planetary Disaster. Now, many people, starting with the UN and the governments of many countries, and ending with ordinary people, are saying that we are on the brink of a planetary disaster. There is also talk about human acts are the cause of the disaster. It goes without saying that simply stating the fact that a calamity is approaching does nothing to head it off. We need concrete, efficacious measures that are capable of changing the situation for the better. But does an efficacious method for finding our way out of a crisis situation exist in nature? Yes, it does. Its code names are Kin's Domain, the Ringing Cedars of Russia, and Anastasia. These words and the images, information, and philosophy that stand behind them are capable not only of leading the country out of crisis in a very short order, but also of initiating a new phase of harmonious development in society. So that we can understand how this might come to pass, let us first enumerate some of today's problems. Ecology. There is not enough good quality air, pure water, and healthy food in the cities. Transportation. Traffic jams many kilometers long have been customary in large cities. Because of poor roads in Russia, up to 30,000 people die in traffic accidents each year. Transportation. Oh, I already read that. Corruption. There is much talk, including on the highest levels, about the scale of this phenomenon. A bureaucrat who embezzles from the treasury, a bribe taker, and a bribe giver are no less dangerous than the enemy saboteurs. Unemployment. The most dangerous consequence of unemployment is depression. When this illness overcomes one person, he turns into a living corpse. It overcomes a segment of society. And if it overcomes a segment of society, then the state is in danger of dying out. Drunkenness and drug addiction. We have been fighting these afflictions for a long time now, unsuccessfully. The housing problem. Despite all the efforts that have been brought to bear to resolve it, the situation is only getting worse. And now let's imagine a following scenario. 50% of the population of Russia, America, and Canada decides to live a healthy way of life and build a Kin's Domain for their family on a plot of land no less than 1 hectare in size. The governments lay the necessary legislative foundation and grant these families the necessary amount of land so they can create settlements of Kin's Domains, or family homesteads, on the previously abandoned lands of former collective farms, state farms, and farmlands. The people who have received land begin building on an unprecedented scale. They build residential homes and the necessary farmyard structures. Those who lack sufficient means to do the building do the building using their own family's labor. Those who have the means to do so hire construction crews. But what's most important is that these people, each of them on their own hectare, are planting gardens and putting in vegetable gardens. Previously abandoned lands in the Far East, in Siberia, and the central region of Russia turn into blooming oases. In states that has such oases, the food problem is entirely solved, since families who have changed their way of life not only entirely provide for themselves with first-class produce, but are also able to feed the population of larger and smaller cities. The threat of a collapse of the transportation system in big cities disappears. Since the quantity of cars falls by half, the air improves significantly. The housing problem is completely solved, since the housing that has been freed up is granted to all who need it. Unemployment entirely disappears, and the government need not worry about what will happen when unprofitable businesses shut down. Social tension in society falls sharply. Stratification into poor and rich no longer elicits rage and envy in most people. People have found more important priorities than how much money one has. Consciously communing with the land opens up such possibilities and horizons for man that the technocratic mind can't imagine them, not even in science fiction films. For this reason, I believe that all of us altogether need to try to fathom what lies at the heart of the secret of this communing. Changing the way a significant portion of the population lives will eliminate the possibility of an ecological disaster on a planetary scale. Some might say that what we have here is a very rosy and fantastical picture of the future. How can a significant portion of the population suddenly experience the inspired desire to begin living a healthy way of life, to build kin's domains by acquiring some land that's overgrown with tall weeds, and pay for it themselves to boot? And all thanks to some code names and phrases. That's not realistic. That's a fairy tale. I'll tell you right off, there is no problem where this question is concerned. The words and phrases are efficacious. Tens of people are showing us this in practice. Tens of people, that's it. Anyway, in Russia, there are already more than 1,500 settlements of kin's domains that have been set up by readers of the book in the Ringing Cedars of Russia series. There are the same kinds of settlements in the Ukraine, Belarus, and Kazakhstan. But what is fantastical from the point of view of rationality is that the government agencies have not aided these people enough and have, in some cases, opposed this beautiful aspiration. A chorus of voices on the international and regional levels is calling for measures to be taken to head off a planetary disaster. But only the people who are really taking actions aimed at heading off social and ecological disruptions are the people who are building kin's domains. More than a year ago, an idea was born. For each person who has founded a kin's domain and who is planning to found one to declare his intentions and aspirations. What? That's an incomplete sentence. More than a year ago, an idea was born. For each person who has founded a kin's domain and who is planning to found one to declare his intentions and aspirations. The first time I read a draft of declaration like this out loud was at a gathering in one of the settlements. The idea was picked up, and since then, the text has undergone a great many changes and additions. I'm offering it here with the most significant additions.